Has the recent market volatility put your retirement plan to the test? See if your retirement is still on track by scheduling a retirement checkup with Lauren Merkel. During this 15-minute phone call, we'll discuss if your retirement plan could be disrupted by long-term market volatility. We'll also analyze your current tax plan and provide strategies on how to take advantage of the market. Go to merkelplan.com and click Book Now to schedule your retirement checkup today. The morning news on YourIowa.com is brought to you by the Commission on U.S. Territories, striving for equal representation around the globe, and by Keep Iowa First, committed to keeping the Iowa caucuses the first in the nation contest in selecting the presidency of the United States. And now, here's your host, Brent Roske.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Up on the screen, I showed a little bit of this yesterday, but I'm a big fan of the Cresco Theater and had the good fortune of filming there this week. That's a drone shot we did, and it's just a hearkening to a little bit of hopefully getting things back to normal and experiencing some of the magic of the movies. So big thanks to the Cresco Theater and Chris Nelson Media for that production. It was just great to be directing and being back on set again. Folks, did you see last week the 50th episode, I guess, of this show? We had former Senator Tom Harkin was on the program. It's just a week ago today that happened, but from the beach in Bahamas, Mr. Harkin was there. So huge thanks to him for being on the show and for you for tuning in. And this Friday, tomorrow, there's my buddy Matt Del Negro. He's currently co-starring in Showtime's series City on a Hill. There he is with Kevin Bacon. City on a Hill. I got the good fortune to work with Matt Del Negro in my film Chasing the Hill. But here he is, City on a Hill, and Showtime. A huge thanks to them because they actually sent us a scene of Matthews directly from the edit bay. We're going to be showing you that tomorrow during our interview, and also on tomorrow's show, we are going to have Dr. Franz Whitfield with some excellent tips on how to deal with anxiety and personal depression and setbacks, and a lot of folks look to the church for many different things, and so was very grateful to chat with him. We actually recorded that yesterday. We're going to broadcast that tomorrow on Friday's special show. But today, folks, two of my favorite people are on. Gary Kroeger from the Cedar Rapids, Waterloo area here in Iowa. Last week, he was talking about bringing the two political parties together like corners of a folded sheet. It was lovely. It was poetry in motion. And Brendan Kownacki is going to be with us today from Washington, D.C. Here's Emmy-winning meteorologist Jason Parkin with the forecast. We'll be back with Gary in just a sec.
And the weather brought to you this morning by Clear Mortgage, and it will not be a clear day. We have a tiny rain chance today in the metro area, maybe a few scattered showers, but a better chance of rain in the southeastern part of the state, especially late in the day and on into the evening. We should be at 47 degrees by noon in the Des Moines metro area, in 51 degrees by 4 o'clock. So that's system number one. System number two comes our way Friday late night into the day on Saturday. That's going to bring what will actually be a better chance of rain in the forecast, mainly during the day on Saturday. So upper 50s both Friday and Saturday. Sunday looks nice. High temperature there near 61 degrees. And look at Monday, a temperature that begins with a 7 again. 72 for a high temperature Monday, 65 on Tuesday. And Wednesday's forecast calls for a high temperature near 51 degrees.
Thank you to Jason Parkin, as always, for his awesome forecast. And there he is live this morning. Now, Gary, what do you say? Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, Cedar Falls?
Cedar Falls, Waterloo. Cedar Falls, Waterloo, Cedar Falls. The corridor of Waverly, Cedar Falls, Hudson, Waterloo.
It's a beautiful spot up there. Gary Kroeger, I had on today I've got former U.S. House candidate on there, but a lot of times I just put Renaissance man for Gary Kroeger.
Oh, for me.
Yeah.
Well, that's a misuse of the term Renaissance.
Involved in many different things. So last week we were talking about kind of like bringing the two conversations together and maybe doing some mending after politics. Admiral Mike Franken sent us an email and said, Gary, I tried what you said. My folded sheet is a lump in the closet. It still didn't work. But
so are mine. I claim to be an expert. I watch the videos. I really try. I intend to fold a sheet well because it can be done. But I fail. I have bacheloritis. Oh, I'm married, but I just have the old habits of being a bachelor and just putting things on shelves.
You know, it's interesting, isn't it? The basics a lot of times elude us, and people think, oh, we're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z and doing so much better in life. And you're like, let's just start with the basics. Can we fold our sheets or not? But you've done so many different things in your career. You worked in Hollywood. You were on the Saturday Night Live program. You co-starred. I mean, you keep popping up. I love it when my buddy got a Primetime Emmy nomination for filming Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was the Steadicam op. And
Sure.
there you are in the show.
Yeah. All my tombstone is going to say, my epitaph is going to say, he stayed busy. That's it. I don't know what any of it leads to, but I stay busy. And I want to mention that your friend Matthew is, of course, 1 degree from Kevin Bacon, having worked with him. And so was I. And so am I. I worked with Kevin Bacon on a film for Chris Guest called The Big Picture. So everyone who knows
you're
me,
in The Big Picture. I'm in the Big Picture.
Yes, I sit next to Kevin Bacon on the couch. I'm a studio executive. So everyone who knows me now is within 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
There's an awesome scene in The Big Picture where you can tell they jump ahead in time, and he's this young guy who wants to make movies, and he's in LA, and that movie inspired a lot of my move out there. He's out there, he's making it happen, and then they cut to a little bit forward in time, and you see this really fancy car, and everything's great, and then the camera pulls back, and he's in this junker, and he's delivering pizzas. And I was like, okay, well, that's the reality.
I'm in the scene with the studio executives where he's pitching the idea, and I'm the exec who says, we need music. Not wall-to-wall music, but just a few good pop hits here and there, And he says, well, I was thinking no music. And I said, no music where? Anyway, it's every scene in there is a memorable little scene.
Oh, I've got it. Okay. I've been looking into showing films on youriowa.com. So that would be a fun one to start with. So I'll reach out to their movie rights handlers and see about that. But that's very cool, my man. You've got so many things like that. How great.
Well, I'd like to share something with everyone, if I may.
Yes.
I kind of want to, my idea to be on the program is to offer something about what we're talking about in the discourse of American life, but also to relate it to something useful to people. Last week, it was the folded sheet, but I very seriously wanted to talk about conflict and conflict resolution because we seem to have lost or never learned how to resolve conflicts. And that lesson there was to consider the plausibility of your opponent's argument. Because what we do is we Google support for ourselves, right? And we put down all of the arguments that support us. But what we should do is that plus look at the plausibility of our opponent's argument, because in there we might find some resolution. Well, this week, I want to mention conflict as well. I'm kind of on a mission because I think that the conflicts that we're having in the conversations in America, socially and politically, have become so hostile. And you know what I'm talking about. And Brent, you're a smarter man than I am, and you are much more adept probably at things like Facebook, because I get on there and I think to myself, I have an obligation to say what I feel and to be honest, and I get out there, and sometimes it gets hostile, right?
I think you're just more brave than I am on Facebook.
Well, whatever, or I think I'm a little dim. But what happens is these conversations immediately go into war zones. Immediately, all conservatives are greedy. All liberals hate America. And we throw out these horrible things like, you've been drinking the Kool-Aid. And if you look at the etymology of that, what is it? It's Jonestown. It's to say you don't have a mind of your own. Well, that's no longer an argument. It's a war. It's a fight. The other day, I got on and I gave my positions on gun control. And that's a very volatile issue, right? Gun control is one of those things where the camps get divided and you're for us or you're against us. And someone said, Kroeger, you wear a tinfoil hat. And I thought, well, I've used that. You're wearing a tinfoil hat before. And what it means now is that you're not thinking, that you're just crazy. What it comes from, of course, are the conspiracy theorists who thought that the government can read their mind and they'd put tinfoil on their heads to deflect the beams, right? Or whatever. That's the tinfoil hat. But now it's come to mean that you're kind of stupid. Well, I was accused of wearing a tinfoil hat. Well, I got mad and it became a fight. And once it's a fight, you have nowhere to go. Well, here's my lesson. Folks, we're adults. You can apologize. I went back to this person and I apologized for having said the things that I said or put it into a context that were degrading to him and not to the issue. So that got me to thinking about tinfoil hats. And my own tinfoil hat. I got to thinking, Brent, about tinfoil. Tinfoil has gotten a bad rap. It has. Now, we all have tinfoil. Tinfoil is a necessity in the kitchen, and we use it to, wrap leftovers and put them in the fridge. We use them to line the cookie sheets. Tinfoil is useful. But did you also know that if you fold some tinfoil 2 or 3 times, it will, and this is not a joke, sharpen your scissors?
What?
Yes, tinfoil will sharpen your scissors. Very simply like that. Did you know that if you take a sheet of tinfoil and put it under the cloth on your ironing board, the covering on your ironing board,
okay,
what happens when you iron is that the heat is absorbed into that, but you put a layer of tinfoil underneath that and it reflects the heat back and your ironing is more efficient and faster.
Oh.
Did you know, and now this is all true, that if you take a ball of tinfoil and put it in your dryer, you no longer need dryer sheets that can be expensive to stop static cling?
What?
I know you're going, what? This is true. Static cling is a problem, right? It's a problem. You put this into your dryer and it absorbs the static.
I love the props.
Yeah. Consider this. It's 7 a.m. and I spent time on props, but this is true. This is true. So my lesson today, besides conflict mediation and learning to apologize and getting out of hostile rhetoric, let's make tinfoil great again.
Boy, did you bring it back. You put a bow on it. I love it.
I put a bow on it, but it's really true. And I know someone out there is going to try the tinfoil, especially this one, instead of the dryer sheets. It makes a little more noise, but hey, one tinfoil ball saves you probably, $4.99 a week.
Gary Kroeger brought props at 7 a.m. As always, thank you for being on the show. But today,
I love it.
Especially inspired, my friend.
My pleasure.
Folks, we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna run down to the kitchen and get my tinfoil, and we're gonna be right back with Brendan Kownacki from Washington, D.C. We'll be right back.
School of Rock is now in session in Iowa, and we're ready to help make musicians. In our patented performance-based program, students learn music in one-on-one lessons, then have band practice in a fun, safe learning environment, all leading up to their big show. Guitar, bass, piano, drums, and vocals, our local professionals teach the skills you need to be a rock star. Come check us out and get a free lesson with no strings attached. Locations in West Des Moines and Marion. Visit schoolofrock.com to learn more and start your musical journey today.
Folks, welcome back to the show. There he is live from D.C., Brendan Kownacki. How are you today, sir?
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Gary Kroeger brought a tinfoil hat to the show today, and I got to give him props for that. I just, they say you wear a tinfoil hat. I don't know if I've actually seen one in action in a while, so good for him.
I love it. He's being practical and fun. Always a surprise with him.
So, DC, boy, lots going on. The president's having his first news conference today, press conference. Axios put out their 5 questions they'd like to put to him. But one of the issues that has sprung up on the national conversation lately is something that my friend DC Shadow Senator Paul Strauss has been talking about for several years.
Absolutely.
is statehood for the District of Columbia. And it is a hot button issue, but it's getting some play again. Why don't you give folks a rundown of where it's at right now?
This has been an issue on the agenda of many people for a lot of years, but it's getting some renewed interest, and they've actually seen some hearings go forth earlier this week, which was the big development. The big issue at play, of course, is whether or not Washington, D.C. could become the 51st state. And for the pro-statehood folks, it's a pretty simple argument. D.C. is about 660,000 people, and they feel that these people are just the definition of taxation without representation, that they don't have elected members of Congress who represent them and sit there on their behalf to talk about all of their needs. And these are, of course, not just residents, but these are some people who work in our national elected office and work in our departments. And so you'd think that they would want a representative for them. Now, on the con side, we saw a lot of different arguments come out this week, a lot of them more ridiculous than the last. Some people saying that on the Republican side, well, D.C. doesn't have car dealerships. D.C. doesn't have mines. D.C. doesn't have, so many different things that when it comes to why D.C. doesn't need to have its representative in Congress. However, if you go to the actual debate, the more grounded arguments actually come to the fact that in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, the federal district known as Washington, D.C. is actually defined by the founders. And they say, well, you're going to take a plot of land not bigger than 10 square miles, and this is going to be the home of the seat of government, and it will be outside of that of a normal state. And so that's really where some of the debate comes. And the question is, though, have we reached the timely end to where these people can be sitting doing the governing without having a representative themselves?
So the district actually commissioned me. I was there this summer and filming with folks like Leader Hoyer, Steny Hoyer, Speaker Pelosi, Shadow Senator Strauss, and folks like our friend Nikki Schwab, who's a journalist over at the Daily Mail. And I was filming with Nikki right in front of the White House. And as we were speaking, the tweet went through Joe Biden, I support DC statehood, pass it on, that had started with Pete Buttigieg, who's now the Secretary of Transportation. And it was interesting because at that moment this summer, it was, well, the Democrats would have to win the presidency and they'd have to win control of the Senate for anything to happen. And those two things have happened. Now they'd have to blow up a lot of different things to make, like, they'd have to still push this through, like with verve, to put it lightly, but it could happen. And what folks might not realize is that Alaska and Hawaii just became states, in the 50s. So it's not ancient history that we've welcomed new states in. But what do you think right now? What's the feeling there in the district? Is this a feeling of, well, this is exciting because we've gotten it this far, or is it a real chance?
There's definitely some energy, especially with the support of President Biden, that this has not had, at least in a number of years. Now, it's important to remember that back in the 70s, there actually was a pretty boisterous movement for statehood, similar to what we're seeing then. President Nixon had said he supported statehood. So it's actually not a fully democratic idea that the right needs to reject statehood. And in one of the arguments to say that because this is addressed in the Constitution, it shouldn't just be held as go through Congress and have DC become a state. In the 70s, they tried to do this, and they actually tried to pass a constitutional amendment. And this actually did pass both chambers and then went to the states for ratification to say, this is a special exception. It's not just the same as trying to admit, say, a parcel of land out in the Atlantic Ocean, or if we were to even try to admit Puerto Rico, because this is the seat of our government. It was rejected back in the 70s. So the point is that we could see this energy go far, but far enough, hard to say.
Brandon, what else is going on there in the Capitol?
Well, we've got a lot of issues popping up, especially with the first press conference where President Biden will face his first set of direct questions from the press. Of course, the border crisis is looming, and there's going to be a lot of talk about that. The president has signaled that Vice President Kamala Harris is going to be his point person on that, further emboldening her as a powerful member of this administration. We've seen presidents and vice presidents with different levels of power, but this is definitely an activist role for the vice president, and she's going to definitely be starting to set the stage for how she's contributing to this administration, and that's going to lead to these questions today. Are you going to seek a second term? We can't get enough of it. We're only 60 days in, and that's one of the big questions that people are looking for from the president.
So the C-SPAN bus, it was reported that they are going to start their Road to 2024 coverage tomorrow here in Urbandale, Iowa. One of my favorite restaurants, Machine Shed, is actually hosting the West Side Conservative Club, and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo making a visit here. Now, he's not the first national politico to visit Iowa recently. Senator Tom Cotton has been here. Former Ambassador Nikki Haley has been here recently. But C-SPAN is saying tomorrow is the official start of Road to 2024, because what people don't necessarily realize is that, it's kind of like the midterm's going to hit, and then right away, it seems like right after that midterm, you're going to see a huge flurry of events and visits and all that sort of thing. And to your question, if Joe Biden says, you know what, I'm just a one-termer because of who knows, if people refer to his age or who knows what reasons he would give, then it would be considered an open seat on the Democrats as well. So we might have the same, Democrat free-for-all we did last time. The time before that, when it was an open seat, there was 17 Republicans here tromping through Iowa, one of which Mark Everson was on the show just last week. But yeah, what do you think, Brendan? Is he going to run again? What's going on?
It's easy to see how you could have maybe up to 60 candidates on both sides of the aisle running for the 2024 election. I think that President Biden, it's so premature to be asking this question. He is just settling into the groove of getting things done. He's out there with the vaccines. He's out there facing foreign policy questions. That it's absolutely not the time to try to make this into a partisan will he run moment, because that's really the focus that you're probably going to hear back from the president. Is he's going to say, well, I could consider running for a second term, but I've got a lot of work to do in this one. And so I think that while his age is certainly something you're seeing kind of bubbling as an undercurrent when it comes to people are saying, oh, he slipped falling down the stairs on Air Force One. So did Gerald Ford. So did Ronald Reagan. So, it's not something that we should be pointing to his age or any factor other than there's a lot of work, especially when it comes to the coronavirus, that we should be focused on governing at hand rather than this speculation. Well, we're not even 100 days in.
And that term right there, you hear it, throughout the history of the White House in this country. They say the first 100 days. What are you going to do the first 100 days? Because so often that's really what you get. The dew is off the lily off the first 100 days, and it becomes, okay, how are we looking at midterms? Because as we know, you look historically speaking, if the president's Republican, the Republican Party is going to take a hit in the midterms. If the president is Democrat, then the House members are going to take a hit. So, and they're, the Democrats have a majority right now in the House, but not many seats. And there's actually one seat here in Iowa that might be overturned. It might not be. There are 22 votes with the Miller-Meeks Hart contest right now. Former State Senator Rita Hart, former State Senator Miller Meeks, now member of Congress Miller Meeks. And they're talking about, right now she won by 6 votes. They're talking about putting the 22 votes back in and having Speaker Pelosi and Congress decide that, as opposed to locally here, where a bipartisan commission said that Miller Meeks won the election. So that razor thin majority that the Democrats have will be in play in these midterms.
The majority is so slim that this one seat could be very important. And of course, when we do have such a slim majority, the midterms are going to be important. And that's where you're going to see a lot of what happened with the COVID relief bill. We have to remember $1.9 trillion. This is a behemoth that it's going to become an election issue. It's going to be, did you either side with us, or were you on the side of saying we didn't give relief to voters? Now, on the other side of the aisle, you're going to hear them saying, but look at what you've done to spending. Look at what you've done to our budget. This is going to be a drag out issue when it comes to the midterm elections. And it's anyone's game right now.
And to that point, you know, I've had interviewed so many politicians right now, or folks running, and I've heard folks after their first term say things like, well, it's not fair. They're now running against my record. And I say, well, it's kind of the point of politics. You made your choices, and you know, it's supposed to be a representative government. That's why the job's called representative. And you get there, and then you listen and you do what you can to represent as many of your constituents as you can. But yeah, running against someone's record is always different than the pie in the sky ideas of a new candidate. So we will be watching the press conference closely. And Mr. Kownacki, thank you as always for being on the program.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.
Folks, we're going to take a 15-second break. I'll be back to wrap up the program.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and a crazy cool vibe. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Folks, thanks to Brendan all the way from DC and Gary Kroeger from the Cedar Valley area. And before we go, let's take a look at that forecast one more time.
And the weather brought to you this morning by Clear Mortgage, and it will not be a clear day. We have a tiny rain chance today in the metro area, maybe a few scattered showers, but a better chance of rain in the southeastern part of the state, especially late in the day and on into the evening. We should be at 47 degrees by noon in the Des Moines metro area, in 51 degrees by 4 o'clock. So that's system number one. System number two comes our way Friday late night into the day on Saturday. That's going to bring what will actually be a better chance of rain in the forecast, mainly during the day on Saturday. So upper 50s both Friday and Saturday. Sunday looks nice. High temperature there near 61 degrees. And look at Monday, a temperature that begins with a 7 again. 72 for a high temperature Monday, 65 on Tuesday. And Wednesday's forecast calls for a high temperature near 51 degrees.
Big thanks to Jason Parkin for those awesome forecasts. He was on KCCI, he was on KCWI, and now he's selling mortgages, and we're ecstatic to have him a part of this program. I'm just going to keep running this footage because I love it. That is the Cresco Theater and Opera House up in the northeast corner of the state. My in-laws are up there in the Decorah area, and I got the chance to film this drone shot and all the other footage you're seeing here. And I'll be showing this 2-minute piece here for the theater. But, you know, we want to be safe. We want to wear our masks. But at the same time, the magic of the movies, you know, I've been involved in some aspect of the entertainment industry for many, many years now, a big chunk of my life. And to be able to film these beautiful shots in such a gorgeous, over 100-year-old theater was a true privilege. Did you see my interview with my buddy Sally Kirkland last week? Golden Globe winner, Academy Award nominee Sally Kirkland. There's us from an Oscar party at the Beverly Hills Hotel just a couple years ago. That was from our 50th episode, and also on the program. There he is. He was live from the beach in the Bahamas. Tom Harkin, huge thanks to Mr. Harkin for being with us from literally paradise. And tomorrow, you are not going to want to miss this. Matt Del Negro is co-starring on Showtime's City on a Hill. There he is from my film Chasing the Hill. But City on a Hill, he's co-starring with Mr. Kevin Bacon there in the frame. Showtime, big thanks to Showtime. They sent us an exclusive scene of Matt Del Negro and one of the series leads, Aldous Hodge. They sent it directly from the edit bay. I'm going to be able to show that to you tomorrow during the episode. So incredibly excited about that. You don't get to show primetime dramas on this program all the time. So big thanks to Showtime for making that happen. Also tomorrow, we have on Dr. Franz Whitfield. We recorded this actually yesterday, talking about incredibly easy and accessible tips on dealing with personal anxiety, dealing with conflict, dealing with depression. He certainly talks about religion and the church, but also about a secular approach as well. I guarantee you it is something that can help all of us. In a very selfish way, I asked if he would come on this program and speak about those things. So he was kind enough to take time yesterday. We're going to broadcast that tomorrow. You're going to want to check it, stick around for that. Also tomorrow, Lauren Merkel. You see at the top of our program, Lauren Merkel is an expert here in this area in regards to retirement planning. And as much as, I personally want to keep pushing off that conversation, it's incredibly important. And Lauren is there and ready to help with that transition. If you are looking to make that, you've got to plan for the future, folks. If you don't make the plan, the world will for you, and you won't like those choices. So he will be on tomorrow talking about lifestyle planning for retirement. Folks, we're 50 episodes in. Do you believe it? When I started this little thing, I was like, well, 10, 20, we'll see how it goes. But I couldn't be more grateful to be sharing these words with you. I hope you find it interesting. I hope you find it supportive and positive. If you want to support, there's the Venmo at Brent Roske. And thanks to folks who have thrown in small and large dollars to the Venmo account. It helps keep me waking up early on the mornings to do this program. And if you have suggestions, it's just Roske at youriowa.com is the actual email address. I will read it. And I will see you right back here tomorrow. Matt Del Negro, Dr. Franz Whitfield, Lauren Merkel, a heck of a show. You're not going to want to miss it.